Once, long ago, in a land far away, there lived four little characters who ran through a maze looking for a cheese to nourish them and make them happy. Two were mice named Sniff and Scurry, and two were little people named Hem and Haw. The maze was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, some containing delicious cheese. But there were also dark corners and blind alleys leading nowhere. One day they all found their favorite cheese at the end of the corridor in Cheese Station C. After that,
The shadows
they kept
beckon.
returning to the same place every day for to enjoy more of that wonderful cheese. It wasn't long before Ham and Haw had built their whole lives around cheese
This
stations.
better be good.
They had no
What does
idea
the
where the
shadow
cheese
will?
came from or who put it there. They just assumed
Intriguing.
it will always be there. And then, one day, it wasn't. When they saw that the cheese was gone, Sniff and Scurry set off right away in search of new cheese. But not Ham and Haw.
Greetings, my lord.
The two little people stood there stunned.
What is it?
Their cheese was gone. How was this
The
possible?
dead shall serve.
No one
What does
had
the
warned
shadow
them.
will?
It wasn't
Intriguing.
right.
Let
This was not the
darkness
way
guide
things were
me.
supposed to be. They spent days being upset. Finally, Hall noticed that Sniff and Scurry had run
Intriguing.
off into the maze, and he decided to follow the mice and go look for new cheese too. Sometimes Ham,
As
things
the
change
shadow
and they
wills.
are never the same again, said Hall. This looks like one of those times.
Intriguing.
Life moves on and so should we.
The restless dead await.
And so saying, he left. After a few days, Haw showed up again at Cheese Station C with a few small
The
pieces of
dead
new
shall
cheese
serve.
and offered some to him. But Ham didn't think he would like this new cheese. It wasn't what he was used to. He wanted his own cheese back. So Haw reluctantly set off again and his own to look for new cheese. And that was the last Ham had seen for his friend Haw. New story. What
Let
happened next?
darkness guide me.
For days, Ham stayed in his home by Cheese
Intriguing.
Station C,
As the
pacing back and
shadow
forth,
wills.
fussing and fuming. He still expected more
For the
cheese to
Lich
appear
King.
every day and couldn't
Intriguing.
believe it when that
Let
didn't happen.
darkness guide me.
He felt sure
For the Lich King.
that if he stood his ground and waited it out, things would turn around. But they didn't,
As the
and
shadow
why
wills.
didn't Paul come back?
Shall
Ham
survive.
came up with a new
Die.
different answers as he faced.
For the Lich
At
King.
first he told
As
himself,
the shadow
he's coming
wills.
back, he'll be here
For the
any day
Lich
now, and things will go back to normal. But it had been any day now for days,
As the
and Paul
shadow wills.
still wasn't there. As he grew still more
Tremble
upset,
before the
Ham's
scourge.
thoughts took a different direction.
For the Lich King.
He forgot about me. He's hiding from me. He's doing this on purpose.
Darkness
How
guide
could my friend betray me like this? These last thoughts made him angry, and the more he focused on the anger he got, he was angry that Paul had left him alone, angry that the cheese was gone, and angry that nothing did seem to fix or improve the situation. Finally, he stopped and shouted, "He's not
As the
there!"
shadow wills.
Worn out from pacing and being
For the
upset,
Lich King.
Ham collapsed into his favorite armchair and began to weep.
Shall survive.
What if Paul got lost? What if he didn't heard the words?
For the Lich King.
Ham forgot about being angry and just thought about his friend
Darkness guide
and
me.
about the terrible things that had happened to him.
Tremble before
After a while, a different question occurred to him instead of
shall survive.
why wasn't Paul
They'll
come
all
back?
be mine.
He began to wonder, why didn't I go with him?
or the Lich
If he had gone with Hall, he reasoned, maybe
as
things
the
would have
shadow
been
wills,
different. Maybe Hall wouldn't
or the
have
Lich
gotten lost. Maybe nothing bad would have happened to him. Maybe they would be eating cheese together right now. Why he didn't
tremble
move
before
with
the
the cheese
scourge,
like his friend did?
as
Why
the
didn't
shadow
he go with
wills.
Hall? A question gnawed
None
at him
shall
like the mouse
survive.
gnawing on a piece of cheese.
Die.
Meanwhile, he was getting
Let
hungrier and
darkness
hungrier.
guide me,
Ham got up off his
or
chair
the
again
Lich King.
to do some more pacing, and he tripped over
None
something
shall
on the floor.
survive,
He bent down and picked it up.
as
It
the
was
shadow
only after
wills.
he blew off the dust that he recognized it. It was an old chisel. He remembered the
Or
day
the
when he
Lich
held
King.
that chisel while Ha was
Tremble
him
before the
at it
scourge.
with a hammer
Let
until it made a
darkness
big
guide
hole
me.
in the wall of the cheese station.
They'll all
See,
be
looking
mine
for new
in the
cheese.
end.
He could almost hear the sound of the hammer and chisel echoing off the walls of
For
the
the
room.
Lich King.
Ping, ping,
Intriguing.
ping. He
None
poked
shall
around on the
survive,
floor
as the
until he
shadow
found the
wills.
hammer they had
Let
used
darkness
and
guide
blew the
me.
dust off of that too. He hadn't
Intriguing.
realized till that moment just how
Die.
long it had been
Let
since the two of
darkness
them,
guide me.
Him and Paul, had
Intriguing.
gone looking for cheese together. He missed his friend, and he was starting to worry.
For the Lich
All the
King.
time, he still expected
What
more
does the
cheese
shadow
to
will?
appear
Let
and for
darkness
Hall to
guide
come
me,
back.
as the shadow
But there was
wills.
still no cheese
For the
and no
Lich King.
Hall. He had to do something. He
Let
could no longer
darkness
stay
guide
home and
me.
wait. He had to go out in the
For the
maze
Lich
and
King.
search for cheese.
None shall
Him
survive,
rummaged
as
around,
the shadow
found his
wills.
running shoes, and put them on the
Tremble
way
before
he
the
and Hall
scourge.
used to do when they were
None
first
shall
exploring for
survive.
cheese.
Tremble
As he
before the
began to layer
scourge.
them up, he reviewed
Let
what he
darkness
knew
guide
about
me.
the facts of the situation. He knew that he
Intriguing.
had to find more cheese. If he didn't, he would die. He knew that the maze was a dangerous place,
Let
full of dark
darkness
corners
guide me.
and blind
None
alleys
shall
to led
survive.
nowhere. So he had to be very careful.
Tremble
Finally,
before the
he knew that if
scourge.
he was going to get through this, find
Intriguing.
more cheese and survive,
For the
it
Lich
was
King.
up to him.
None
He was
shall
on his
survive.
own.
They'll all
He
be
wrote
mine.
all this down on a piece of paper and put it in his pocket
Die.
so he wouldn't
Tremble
forget.
before the scourge.
The facts of matter. Number one, I have to find more cheese. If I don't, I'll die. Number two, the maze is a dangerous place full
As
of
the
dark
shadow
corners
wills.
and blind alleys. Number
Let
three,
darkness
it's
guide
up to
me.
me. I'm on my own. Knowing the
As
facts
the
of the
shadow
matter felt
wills.
reassuring to him.
Intriguing.
At least he knew
None
there where things
shall
stood.
survive.
He looked at the hammer and
For the
chisel.
Lich King.
Maybe they will help him in his
Intriguing.
journey ahead,
For the
exploring the
Lich King.
deeper
Our forces
recesses
are
of
under
the
attack. Let
maze.
darkness
He
guide
picked
me.
up the tools,
This
put them in the
better be
bag,
good.
and slung it over his shoulder.
Intriguing.
Armed with the facts of the matter and
As
a
the
strong
shadow
hammer and
wills.
chisel,
Let darkness
Ham
guide
ventured
me.
out
As
into
the
the
shadow
maze.
wills.
For the next few
Intriguing.
days, Ham wandered through
As the
corridors,
shadow
working his way deeper and
wills.
deeper into the maze. The corridors
Die.
were empty, except for a few small drugs here and there. No sign of cheese. Every time he came to a new chamber, he
First
poked his
blood.
head inside to scan for cheese. But
Die.
every single
For the
chamber was
Lich King.
empty.
Tremble
Every so
before the
often he would
scourge.
come to a dark corner.
Intriguing.
When that
As
happened,
the
he
shadow
would quickly turn
wills.
back and head
Die.
to the other way. He
Let
was
darkness
determined
guide
not
me.
to get lost.
For the Lich
Now and
King.
then he passed by a blind alley.
Our brethren's towns
He
are under
would
attack.
peer down just to make sure, and when he
They'll
saw
all
that
be
it
mine
ended in
in the
nothing
end.
but a brick wall and darkness,
Intriguing.
he rode hurrying
As
his
the
way.
shadow wills.
Here and there, Ham
Intriguing.
could see that Hall had
For
passed
the
by
Lich
at that
King.
way because Hope had
Tremble
scratched
before the
notes on the
scourge.
corridor walls, each note framed with a
Let
drawing of
darkness
cheese.
guide me.
They
Tremble
made no
before the
sense to him.
scourge.
Anyway,
As the
he
shadow
was too hungry
wills.
and too tired to stop and read.
Die.
There was
Let
still no
darkness
sign of cheese
guide
at
me.
all. As he
For the
explored,
Lich King.
Ham kept thinking about that question that had gnawed at him,
As
turning
the
it over
shadow
in his mind
wills.
again. Why didn't he go before? To be honest, Ham had always thought of
For the
himself
Lich King.
as the brains of the
Tremble
pair.
before the scourge.
Paul was
As the shadow
a
wills.
fine little person
Intriguing.
and a good companion,
Let
with a
darkness
cheery
guide me.
disposition and a
As
good
the
sense of
shadow
humor.
wills.
More
None
of a
shall
co-pilot than
survive.
pilot, though.
Die.
That's what Ham always thought.
Let darkness
Now
guide
he
me.
wasn't so sure. Why didn't I go with Paul when I had the chance? He murmured to himself. Was it because he was
As the
stubborn,
shadow
or
wills.
just plain foolish, or was he just a little bad
Tremble
person?
before the scourge.
A little person? Kim thought about that as he walked through corridor
As
after
the shadow
corridor.
wills.
Maybe this is Spanish's punishment for something they did, he said out loud. The worse he felt about himself, the more resentment he
Tremble
got,
before the
though
scourge.
he did not
None
notice
shall
this.
survive.
He was not
As
even
the
aware of the
shadow
thoughts he
wills.
was having about himself
For the
as he
Lich
ran
King.
through his mind like little mice in a
Hello.
maze.
What does the
Then he
shadow
had a
will?
thought so terrible it froze him in
Let
his tracks.
darkness guide
Maybe it's my destiny to run in circles and in maze forever.
me. As the shadow
Man
wills.
held his legs about to
Let
give out.
darkness guide
He
me.
leaned against the corridor wall and slipped to the ground.
Our brethren's
On
town
the
is under
opposite
attack.
wall was one of Haas'
As the
notes.
shadow wills.
It said, "All
Tremble
beliefs
before the
do
scourge.
not lead you to new sheets."
Tremble
Ham just
before the
shook his
scourge.
head. "Oh, oh," he murmured. "What were you thinking? Cheese is either there or is not. Beliefs have nothing to do with it." For the first time he wondered if Paul might have gotten too weak to go on and simply given up. He wondered
Let
if that's what
darkness
happened
guide
to
me.
him right now. All at once he felt alone and afraid.
As the
Nothing
shadow
was the way it
wills.
used to be before the maze was there. Him and Paul had worked out and had a social life. They both grew up there and built their lives there. The maze and Ham's worlds.
The dead shall serve.
But the maze had changed.
Let
Now
darkness guide
it
me.
seemed
As
as
the
if
shadow
everything was
wills.
different. Ho was
Intriguing.
gone, Sneaky Squirrel were gone, the cheese
None
was
shall
gone, and he
survive.
was out wandering the corridors, getting weaker and weaker.
For the Lich King.
Ham didn't understand why all this was
Let
happening.
darkness guide
The
me.
maze had become a dark and scary
Tremble before
place.
the
He
scourge.
curled up on the floor
They'll
and
all be
fell into a
mine
troubled
in
sleep.
the end. For the Lich King.
Ham stirred and felt
Intriguing.
his foot bumping against something on the floor where he lay. A few somethings. He sat up and
As
looked
the
at them.
shadow wills.
They were round,
For
little
the
rocks
Lich
about
King.
the size of one of his
Die.
fists. He picked one up and felt its smooth, shiny, red
As the
surface.
shadow
It
wills.
wasn't a rock at all. It smelled good. In
Intriguing.
fact, it smelled so
For
good,
the Lich
Ham
King.
wanted to take a bite.
As the shadow
He
wills.
shook himself. What was he thinking? Whatever
Let
this was,
darkness guide
it certainly wasn't
as
cheap.
the
It
shadow
was
wills.
dangerous. He looked around on
Tremble
his jump.
before the scourge.
There was another little person sitting nearby watching him. It wasn't Paul, and not any
As
other
the
old
shadow
friends
wills.
either. Ham had never
Let
seen this little
darkness
person
guide
before. He didn't know whether to
as
smile
the
and say
shadow
hello or
wills.
to be afraid.
Let
The
darkness
little
guide
person lifted up one of the
for the
little red
Lich
nut
King.
drops and held it out toward him.
Intriguing.
"You look
For the Lich
hungry,"
King.
she said.
As the
But I
shadow
can't
will.
eat this, said Hammond. It isn't cheese. Isn't
For the
what?
Lich King.
Cheese. Ham repeated it. It isn't cheese.
For the Lich
Cheese didn't say anything, just
King.
looked bemused.
As the
Cheese is
shadow
another word for food, Ham explained patiently. Everyone eats cheese, even the mice. Oh, said the other little person.
none
They
shall
were both
survive.
quiet for a moment.
Tremble before
Then
the
she said,
scourge.
I've
Darkness
never
guide me.
seen cheese.
Intriguing.
Ham found this hard to believe. A little person
What does the
couldn't eat
shadow
cheese? Impossible.
As the
The
shadow
stranger was
will.
still holding the little rock out toward him. He looked at it and shook his head.
None
Whatever
shall
it is, I
survive.
can't eat it, he
Tremble
said.
before
I
the
only eat
scourge.
cheese.
Die.
He laid back down again, feeling helpless.
Darkness guide me.
After a few moments, he
For the
half
Lich
heard the
King.
stranger said, I'll bet you can do a lot more than you think you can.
The
But
restless
Ham
dead
had
await.
already breathed up again.
Darkness guide me.
When Ham opened his eyes a few hours later, he felt
As
hungrier
the shadow
and
will.
he'd ever felt
Let
in his
darkness
life.
guide me.
It's dinner time, he thought. And then the reality of the situation came rushing back. No cheese made dinner.
For the Lich King.
He sat up, the stranger was gone, but the little red drugs were still there.
Before the scourge.
He picked up one up and smelled it again. It smelled sweet.
As the
Before
shadow
he had time to think about what he was doing, he took a bite. It was crispy, also juicy,
As the shadow
sweet
wills.
but tart.
For the Lich
It
King.
tasted like no cheese he had ever eaten. He ate the whole thing. He couldn't help it.
Greetings, my lord.
He laid back and groaned.
The dead
What have
shall
I done?
serve.
He said.
As the
I ate a
shadow
rock.
town is under
He was
attack.
sure he was going to die. He tripped up to sleep once again,
For the
and
Lich
for the first time in days, he slept all through the night. When he awoke the next morning, the stranger was there again, sitting on
Tremble
her
before
lower
the
haunches with
scourge.
her arms wrapped
For
around
the
her
Lich
knees,
King.
watching him. You're
Darkness
not dead,
guide me.
she said.
As the
No,
shadow
said
will.
Ham. I am not.
Let
Am I?
darkness guide
In
me.
fact,
As the
he felt
shadow
a little
will.
stronger.
Let
The
darkness
strangers were
guide me.
holding out another rock to him. Ham took
As
it
the
and ate it.
shadow wills.
It certainly
Let
wasn't cheese, but
darkness
it
guide
was
me.
tasty. And as he ate, he felt
As
his
the
energy
shadow
returning
will.
ever so slightly.
Let darkness guide
The
me.
stranger talked to
For
him
the Lich
while
King.
he ate his rock. Her name
As the
was
shadow
Hope,
will.
and she lived nearby at a place called Fruit Station 8. Fruit, she said,
Tremble before
was
the
what the
scourge.
rose were called. She also said they were called apples. By this time, Ham was on his third apple.
For the Lich King.
Hope told him that the
Let
fruit had been
darkness
getting
guide
scarce lately,
For the Lich King.
and that for the past few days she had been exploring different parts of the maze looking for new scrolls. It used to be that every day when I woke up, there would be more
As the
apples,
shadow
he said. But that's been happening less and less.
die.
Actually, she said,
Darkness guide me.
pointing to the piece of fruit Kim was not
Welcome to
eating.
our village.
That's
The
my last.
restless dead await. For the
Kim
Lich
stopped mid-bite and looked at her. You mean they are gone?
King is under attack.
She nodded. They just stopped showing up, and I don't know why. Ken looked at his mostly eaten apple,
For the
then
Lich
at
King.
Hope again. You
As
gave
the
me your
shadow
last
will.
apple?
Brethren's town is under
Hope
attack.
shrugged.
Let darkness
You look
guide me.
hungry.
As the
I
shadow
was,
will.
said Kim.
Let
But
darkness guide
aren't you
me.
hungry too? A little, she admitted. Ken thought about all the apples she had given him and realized he'll never count them. Thank you, he said. You're welcome, she said. Ken shook his head amazed. Eating these things actually made him
For
feel
the
better,
Lich
he
King.
said. I can't believe it.
Let darkness guide me.
Hope smiled and
As the
said,
shadow
Sure
will.
you can. It's not
Die.
bad. If you just let go and try. This confused Cam just let go and
Tremble
play
before the
what? He
scourge.
had no idea what she
Die.
was talking about. He knew
Let
one thing
darkness
though,
guide
he
me.
was still
As the
hungry.
shadow will.
All
Let
his talk about
darkness
eating
guide
reminded
me.
him why
Intriguing.
he was out
For
there
the
in the
Lich King.
maze in the first place.
As the
Now
shadow
that
wills.
this strength was
Let
starting to return
darkness
from
guide
eating his
me.
new strange food,
Intriguing.
it was time to
For the
go
Lich King.
looking for cheese
As the
again,
shadow
so
wills.
far he had failed in his
Intriguing.
quest, and he knew exactly why
What?
that
I'll
was.
have it up in no time.
I just haven't tried hard enough, he explained. What I need
Hello.
to do, he said, is go explore the
Our
parts
forces
of
are
the
under
maze
attack.
I haven't tried yet.
The dead shall
Hope
serve.
will. I'll go too if that's okay with you. Hope didn't see yet just how they were going to get out of their dam, but she has no doubt at all at the will. Him nodded grudgingly. It
The
couldn't
shadows
hurt
beckon.
to have some company. As he
What
got
does the
his
shadow
feet,
will?
he noticed
For the
again
Lich
that the
King.
curious note that his friend Paul had scratched on the
Intriguing.
wall. Old beliefs do not lead you to new
The
cheese.
dead shall serve.
Maybe not, he said to the note on the wall, but I'll tell you what does lead to new cheese.
As the
Trying
shadow
harder.
will.
So saying, Pim slung his bag of tools over his shoulder, and the two set off, trundling down corridor after corridor, poking their heads into chamber
Our
after
tremble
chamber,
is under
and
attack.
carefully avoiding the dark
For the
corners
Lich
and
King.
blind alleys.
As the shadow
Every
will.
chamber they found was empty,
None shall
but
survive.
Pim had
For
resolved
the
not to
Lich
give up.
King.
As they
As the
talked,
shadow will.
Pim told Hope about the
Tremble
old
before
days,
the scourge.
about
Town
how
is under
he and
attack.
Paul
For the
and
Lich
their
King.
friends near his curry would go looking for cheese every
Darkness
day,
guide me.
and how it
For
used to
the
be
Lich King.
abundant and easy to find.
Intriguing. As the
Therefore,
shadow
taking
will.
all they
Let
had to do
darkness guide
was
me.
look up,
For the
down,
Lich King.
a few nearby corridors,
Darkness
and
guide
there it will
me.
be. Simpler things, he said, and he broke silence as they welcomed.
Tremble
Times had
before the
changed.
scourge.
Ken was not the same little person he used to be. He was
For the Lich
once
King.
strong and proud, someone other
As the
little
shadow
people
will.
looked up to because he was so sure in himself. But the disappearance of the cheese had changed all
Tremble
that.
before the scourge.
Events had
Die.
taken their toll. He was no
Tremble
longer
before
strong
the
and no longer so
scourge.
proud. As he
Our
reflected
brethren's
on
town is
all of
under
this,
attack.
it occurred to him that he felt less sure
Darkness
of himself
guide
than
me.
he used to.
As the
He could
shadow
see that
will.
his usual
Let
confidence
darkness
had
guide
been
me.
shaken.
As the shadow will.
This was something new for him.
Intriguing.
He had never really noticed
As the
his
shadow
own
will. Our
thoughts
brethren's
before or
town is under
taken a
attack.
step back to consider how he looked at things.
Let
To
darkness
him,
guide me.
how he saw things was just the way things were. As they walked the corridors, the two found a few crumbs of cheese here and there,
Tremble
enough to
before the
nibble
scourge.
on and slow the
Die.
gnawing on Pam's stomach.
Intriguing.
Hope tried a few
Welcome to our
bites of
village.
cheese, too, and she liked what
What
she
does the
found.
shadow
Every now and
will? It'll
then they
be
found an
mine.
apple, just sitting on the ground by the
Let
wall,
darkness
which
guide
they
me.
split between them. Between the nibbles of cheese and the occasional apple,
None shall
it was just
survive.
enough to get them back to their starting point, where they
The
would rest
dead
up for
shall
the next
serve.
day's search. Every day when they set out,
Our forces are
Ham
under attack,
felt he had
King.
less energy than the day before. When they returned to the
As the
same spot
shadow
again,
wills.
after hours of fruitless search, Ham would drop his bag of tools and slump down against the corridor wall,
Greetings, my lord.
feeling
Our
even more
brethren's town is
exhausted.
under attack. What does the shadow will?
One day as they
For the Lich
returned,
King,
Hem felt so discouraged and he
let
didn't know
darkness
if he
guide
could
me.
keep going much
The
longer.
dead shall
All
serve.
he could think about was how
Our
heavy
brethren's
his
town is under
toolbag
attack.
was.
The
That
restless
must
dead
be weight a
await.
lot, said Hope.
As the shadow
It's not that bad, said Hem. He didn't want to admit how much it weighed or
for the
how
Lich
brave he
King,
felt.
let
Why do
darkness
you bring it
guide
with
me.
you every day?
For the
He
Lich
asked.
King,
It's for
as
us to
the
make
shadow
holes in the
will.
wall, said
Tremble
Hem.
before
He
the
explained
scourge.
that if they found the right wall, he would ask Hope to hold the chisel the way
For
he
the
used to
Lich
do,
King,
and he would swing the hammer the
let
way Pa
darkness
used to
guide me.
do. Oh, said Hope. Then she
For the
said,
Lich King,
has that worked for you
intrigue.
before? Of course it was, said
None
Ham.
shall survive.
Though what he
As the
was
shadow
thinking
will.
was, she asked a lot of questions. This is the finest
Let
chisel money
darkness
can
guide
buy.
me. What is your wish? What
What I
ails you?
mean is, said Hope, does making holes in the wall actually find you more cheese? Ham
This
didn't answer. He felt offended.
as the
These
shadow
were
will.
but tools. He put down the heavy bag
Intrigue.
with a loud chink
For the
and
Lich
sat back
King,
against the wall.
none
Ham's
shall
knees
survive.
hurt. He didn't like being way out here in the moon so far from home. He wanted things
As
to
the
go back,
shadow will.
back to the way they were.
Our
You miss
brethren's
your
town is
friend,
under attack.
said Hope. It was a little unnerving how she always seemed to know what he
For
was
the Lich
thinking.
King,
Ham shrugged.
let darkness
He just
guide
wished
me.
things would go back to the way they
Intrigue.
were. Hope sat
As
down
the
next to him
shadow
and
will.
leaned back against the
For
wall
the
too.
Lich King,
I know, she
as
said.
the shadow will.
She glanced over at him.
Intriguing.
But I'm not sure that's
For the
how it
Lich
works.
King,
What do you
as
mean?
the shadow
Snapped
will.
him. He was
Intriguing.
getting a little annoyed.
For the Lich King,
I
as the
don't think
shadow
I don't
wills.
think things ever go back to how they were, said Hope. Here's my thought, though maybe they
Intriguing.
can turn out better than
As
they
the
were.
shadow will.
Ham didn't
Our
see
brethren's town
how.
is attacked. Let darkness guide
Our
me.
trying harder plan
As the
isn't working
shadow
out, is
will.
it?
They'll all be
Said Hope
mine.
softly. Ham didn't
Intriguing.
answer. He felt too miserable.
Let
Maybe
darkness
we need a
guide me.
different strategy, she added.
Tremble
Ham glanced
before the
over and saw
scourge.
that she was looking at a house sign, the one that said, all beliefs do not negate limitations. What if we tried a new belief, said Hope. Ham
Intriguing.
shook his head.
For the
Shouldn't
Lich
try a
King.
belief. Your
Intriguing.
beliefs are just there.
For the Lich
Hope
King.
glanced back over at Paul
Our
and
brethren's
shook
town is
her
under
head.
attack. Let darkness guide
But
me.
what if you decided
For
to
the
change
Lich King.
one? That's
As
not
the
how it
shadow
works,
wills.
Ham explained.
Tremble before the
Besides,
scourge.
I like my beliefs just the way they are.
For the Lich King.
If I change them,
Let
who would I be?
darkness guide
I
me.
wouldn't be him.
As the shadow
He did not
wills.
want to change or let go of his beliefs because he thought they were what made him so he was. Bet you will change your mind, she murmured. Why would I do that? Now Ham was getting irritated. I like my mind just the way it is. Hope shrugged again. I like it too, but we still haven't
The
found any
shadow
cheese.
will.
Ham didn't have an answer for that.
For the
They were both silent for a minute. Finally, Hope got to her feet and said, well, good night, Ham. Sweet
For the
dreams.
Lich King.
I'll see you in the morning.
Tremble
Ham
before the
sat against the
scourge.
wall, frowning. He was thinking about what Hope had
Intriguing.
said about his hammer and chisel.
For
Of
the
course,
Lich King.
pulling holes in the wall wouldn't do them any good. Hadn't he already
For the
known
Lich
that?
King.
So why was he lugging
As
around
the shadow
these old
wills.
tools?
Let darkness guide me.
because he didn't know what
For the
else to
Lich
do.
King.
That's why they will never find cheese.
For the
He
Lich
will
King.
never find his friend Hall. He will die here in this
As the
corridor with his
shadow
useless bag of tools.
for the
Him
Lich
let
King.
out a
As the
very big,
shadow will.
very long
For
sigh,
the Lich King.
and then he asked himself the question
Let
that
darkness
had
guide
nagged
me.
him ever since his quest began. Why didn't I go with Hall?
What is it?
And with that,
The restless dead
Ham
await.
began to
Let
cry.
darkness guide me.
Before long, he fell asleep.
Intriguing. As the shadow
That
wills.
night, maze
Let darkness guide
out
me.
of the maze.
None
Page
shall
34.
survive.
That night, Ham had a dream. In his dream, he saw himself back in his
As
home
the shadow
by
wills.
Cheese Station C,
Tremble before
pacing
the
and hissing
scourge.
and fretting and fuming. Something was different, but what? Then he saw what it was. There were bars on the windows. It looked like he was in a prison.
Intriguing.
Looking at
Our
himself
reverend's
through the
town is
bars,
under
he
attack.
saw how
The
unhappy
dead
he
shall
was.
serve.
In his sleep, he cried a little
This
more.
better be wood.
He woke up in the middle of the night, thinking about the dream. It baffled him. Why was he like
As
that,
the shadow
a prisoner in
wills.
his own house? Missing his friend
Our
yet
reverend's town is
refusing
under attack.
to go with him. Ham lay awake on his back
Fresh
for
meat.
hours, thinking about this. He thought about it until dawn came. In the early light,
The
he could
restless
just make
dead
out a
wait
crossed scratch
for
note
the
on the
Lich
wall
King.
about
Let
old
darkness
beliefs
guide
and new
me.
shit.
Intriguing.
Maybe Hall was right,
As the
he said
shadow
quietly,
wills.
thinking out loud how he needs to stop his glitter,
Darkness guide me.
especially the more difficult
Our
tasks
reverend's
like the
town is
ones
under
he was
attack.
carrying
As the
out.
shadow wills.
He thought about the
For the
day
Lich
Hall
King.
left, so
Let
long ago
darkness
now.
guide me.
Hall had tried to talk to him
Our
about
forces are
what
under
he
attack.
thought
What does the shadow
they
will?
needed to do, and Ham had refused to listen. I
As
was
the
sure I
shadow
was right,
wills.
and Hall was
Let
wrong.
darkness guide me.
He said, but maybe I
For the
wasn't
Lich
right.
King.
I
As
didn't
the
trust
shadow
Hall,
wills.
but I didn't trust my uncle. All at once, Ham sat up straight. All beliefs. That's what Osnold was about. But Ham had never stopped to think about what a belief was. Now he thought
As the
he knew.
shadow wills.
He clambered to his feet, picked up a sharp
For
stone,
the Lich
and
King.
wrote his own new thought on
As
the
the
wall
shadow
next to
wills.
Hoss.
Let
When he was
darkness guide
finished, he drew a picture of one of
me. They'll
Hogg's
all be
apples
mine
around
in
it,
the end.
so he will remember that it was his note and not how.
Tremble before the scourge.
I believe is a thought, but I trust is true.
Darkness guide me.
That's all I believe was, a thought.
As
But
the
look at how
shadow
much power it
wills.
held.
For the
Why
Lich
didn't he
King.
go with Hall to look
Let
for new
darkness
cheese?
guide me.
Because
As
Hall
the
was
shadow
looking at things
wills.
differently, and Ham
Intriguing.
couldn't see what Hall
Let
saw.
darkness guide me.
His own thoughts
None
had
shall
kept him
survive.
there in Cheese Station C
For the Lich King.
because he trusted that they
Let
were
darkness
true.
guide me.
He had believed that
For the
if
Lich
he
King.
stayed and stood his ground, things would turn around.
Tremble before the
He had believed that
scourge.
Paul was going off on a fool's errand, that he, him,
As
knew
the
better.
shadow wills.
His beliefs
For the
were
Lich King.
keeping him trapped in his way of seeing things. That
For the
was
Lich
why he
King.
didn't go with Paul. Suddenly, he understood his dream. The bars
For
on
the
his
Lich
windows
King.
were his old
Intriguing.
thoughts. Thoughts he
Die.
trusted were true,
Tremble before
but
the
which actually
scourge.
prevented him from venturing out into the maze.
As the
His
shadow
beliefs were holding him
Wait till
prisoner.
you see me in action.
He scratched out another note on the wall and surrounded
This
this
better
one,
be good.
too, with a drawing of an apple. An
Intriguing.
old belief can hold you
Yes,
How may
prisoner.
I serve?
He pictured himself pacing back at home in Cheese Station C, and how he kept thinking that if he just waited, the cheese would start appearing again,
The restless
and
dead
things
await.
will go back to the new way they were.
For
That
the
was another
Lich
thought he
King,
trusted.
as the
Wasn't
shadow
it another
wills.
belief that held him prisoner?
Intriguing.
So, did all beliefs do that? He thought back to the day he woke up and first saw Hope, and
As the
how she had
shadow
held out an apple for him to eat. At first, he was afraid to eat it, but then he ate it anyway.
as the shadow
He had
wills.
trusted her,
Our brethren's
and
town
she
is
gave
under attack.
him her
For the
last
Lich
apple.
King.
She was a good friend to him. Hem
Our
thought
forces are under
that was a
distress.
belief that served him well. He wrote another note on the wall. Some beliefs can pull you down, other beliefs can lift you up. He thought back to Hope saying,
As the
"Why did
shadow
he try a
wills.
new belief?" What had he replied? "You don't try a belief. That's not how it works." Maybe Hope was right though. Maybe you could change an old belief and choose a new one. He tried thinking of an old belief right now, but he couldn't come up with one.
As the shadow
His
wills.
whole belief business
For the
was still a
Lich
new way
King.
of thinking for
As the
him,
shadow
and he wasn't sure how it all worked. He looked up at the notes he
for the
just
Lich
made
King.
with the drawing of the apple around each one. He
For the
remembered the
Lich
first time Hope had tried to
Intriguing.
offer him a piece of
For the
fruit,
Lich
and how he'll
King.
say,
None shall
"Whatever
survive.
it is, I can't eat it, I only eat cheese."
For the Lich
That was
King.
what he would thought, and he would trust that thought. But it turned out that it wasn't true at all, because he ate
As the
apple and
shadow
felt better.
wills.
So cheese wasn't the
Die.
only kind of food he could eat. And now he thought differently.
Darkness
What did
guide
Hope say? "I bet you'll change your mind." She was
intriguing.
right. He wrote quickly on the wall again. You can change your mind. You can change. You can choose a new belief.
As
Tim
the
noticed
shadow
that he felt totally energized, and this surprised him. In the
as the
past,
shadow
Tim
wills.
did not like it when
Let
someone
darkness
challenged
guide
his beliefs.
intriguing.
He resisted changing his mind,
As
and
the
felt
shadow
offended when
wills.
anyone suggested that
For the
what
Lich
he
King.
was thinking or saying might
Darkness
not be
guide
true.
me.
But now, instead of feeling bad that he'd been wrong, he felt excited by what he was discovering. He realized that
What does
before
the
he
shadow
had
will?
resisted changing his
Guide
mind
me.
because he felt threatened. He had not wanted to change his beliefs because he liked his beliefs. He had thought they made him who he was, but now
What is
he
your wish?
saw that wasn't so. He could choose a different thought, he could choose a different belief, and he was still him. You are
This
not your
better be
belief.
good.
Hello.
You are the person
The
who
restless
chooses
dead
your
await.
beliefs. So here's a real question, he said, pacing back and forth as he thought out loud. Now that I know what I believe is,
As
and
the
how much
shadow
power it
wills.
holds, and how
What
easily
does
I
the
can
shadow
choose a new
will?
belief,
Let
what should I
darkness
do?
guide me.
He
As
stopped
the
pacing.
shadow
The
wills.
answer was obvious. He should use this new knowledge to help
Let
them finish their
darkness
mission.
guide me.
He
As the
should go
shadow
find more cheese and
wills.
apples.
Intrigue.
Problem was, they
For the
already
Lich
tried
King.
everything.
As the
There wasn't
shadow
anywhere else
wills.
to look. There, there
For the
weren't any
Lich
more
King.
apples or cheese to be found.
Let
They
darkness
were out
guide
of
me.
options.
For the Lich
It
King.
was an impossible quest, and
Darkness guide
if that was the case, then there wasn't really any point in trying. But what
for
if
the
the
Lich King.
impossible part
As the
was
shadow
just another
wills.
belief? Could he
Intrigue.
change it? He
As
felt
the
a
shadow
tingle
wills.
run up his spine.
For the Lich King.
What would you do if you believed it was possible? Hang on, Doc. Him told
As
himself.
the shadow
Let's be reasonable. This belief business could
let
go
darkness guide
only
me.
so far. After all,
As the
there were
shadow
limits here, right?
let
Ham
darkness
held that
guide
thought
me.
just for a moment, then he took a breath, let go, and felt the belief change. He looked at the sharp stone in his hand and wrote
Let
once more
darkness
on
guide
his
me.
wall of notes.
Intriguing.
There are no limits to what you can believe. When Hope showed up a few hours after dawn,
For the Lich
she,
King.
she found him sitting up, polishing his running shoes and humming to himself.
The restless
She
dead
hardly
await.
recognized this
As
new
the
him.
shadow
When she left the evening report, he was tired, defeated, and grumpy.
as the
Now he looked
shadow
more refreshed than she'd
let
ever seen him.
darkness guide
She
me.
looked at the series of new notes in the
Intriguing.
wall, each one
For the
surrounded
Lich
by the
King.
outline of an apple. My, she said, you've been a busy little person. Ham nodded, yup.
For the Lich
What
King.
happened? She said. He looked
Show me
at
the
her.
path.
I changed my
I am
mind,
ready.
he said. Good, she said.
Our forces
She looked at all of his notes
die
again, then back at
as the
him.
shadow
At our what?
wills.
Ham
For the
put his
Lich
shoes
King.
down and got slowly to his feet. He was still stiff and sore from dragging around that heavy
As
bag
the
of tools.
shadow wills.
I haven't figured that
Let
part out
darkness
yet,
guide
he
me.
said.
Greetings, my lord.
Ham knew that
Which
what
way?
he'd been doing
How may I
before
serve?
wasn't
The
working.
restless dead
He needed to
await.
do something
For the Lich
completely
King.
different, and that meant he needed to look at things completely differently. He needed to change his mind and choose a new belief.
As the shadow
But
wills.
what belief exactly, he didn't know. Hope came over and sat next to him again. Mind if I ask you something? She said.
Let darkness
She
guide me.
could see him was
Tremble
deep in
before
thought
the
and
scourge.
clearly didn't want her to disturb his concentration. But this was something he needed to hear.
As the shadow
You
wills.
said your cheese was just stopped showing up? Like my apples? That's right,
Let
said him.
darkness guide me.
Here's what I'm wondering.
Intriguing.
Before, when your cheese was
Let
still appearing
darkness
fresh
guide
every
me.
day, where did it come from?
Death
Ken
shall
started feeling annoyed again. Hope asked so many questions,
they'll all be mine.
and what didn't matter where the cheese came from. It was gone now. It was gone now. He stopped. Ham looked over
Let
at Hope and thought
darkness
about the
guide me.
question she had just posed. Where did the
As
cheese
the
come
shadow
from?
wills.
Had he ever asked this question before? Had Hope? He thought back, sorting through all the memories of
As the
times
shadow
they had
wills.
spent together looking for cheese,
Let
finding cheese,
darkness
and
guide
growing
me.
cheese.
brethren's town is
Had
under
they
attack.
ever even
For the
once
Lich King.
asked themselves these questions?
What does the shadow will?
They hadn't.
As the
He was
shadow
sure of it.
wills.
Him felt his
Let
pulse thick
darkness
weaken.
guide me.
He didn't know why, but this felt important. He looked at Hope again, all traces of irritation gone now.
For the Lich King.
Where did cheese come from? He repeated slowly.
Die.
You know, I think that might be a very good question.
As the
Hope's eyes
shadow
sparkled. Does that mean
As the
you've got to
shadow
answer?
wills.
Well,
Let
no, said Ham.
darkness guide me.
But it still seems like a good
Intriguing.
question. If we keep
As the
asking it,
shadow
maybe we'll
wills.
find an answer. They were both quiet for a moment. Then Hope looked over at him and said, I wonder what's outside the maze.
Darkness guide me.
Ham stared at her. What's outside the maze? He shook his head in disbelief. There's nothing outside the maze.
Darkness guide me.
What a thought, outside the maze? That made no sense at all. The maze was all there was. There wasn't any outside. Oh, said Hope. She paused, then looked again at him and
As the
said,
shadow
Are you sure?
wills.
Of course
Let
I'm sure,
darkness
said
guide
him.
me.
They look at each other and then they both burst out with the
I am
same
ready.
words
Show
at the
me the
same
path.
time. I thought
This
your trust is true. Another believed, and it seemed to him that he might be the kind of that held him down rather than lifting him
Let
up.
darkness guide
Could
me.
he change his mind about this one too? Kim shook his eyes and tried to imagine a place outside the maze.
As the shadow
In his
will.
imagination,
For the Lich
all
King.
he could see was the maze
Die.
outside, just as he had always known it.
As the shadow
He
will.
opened his eyes again and shook his
Intriguing.
head. It's no good. I'm not
Shall
saying it.
survive.
He looked at Hope. All I can see is
As the
what's in the
shadow
maze.
wills.
I can't picture anything outside it. The maze was, after
Intriguing.
all, was all Ham
For the
knew.
Lich King.
He had been Ham in all his life.
The restless
Hope
dead
looked at him
await.
thoughtfully. Then she said, "What if you just believe it me first? Maybe then you'll see
As
it."
the shadow
That's
wills.
that's crazy.
Let
Was
my
that
life
Ham was
guide
about to
me.
say. Instead, he said,
As
"That's
the
a
shadow
great idea."
wills.
If there really were no limits to what he could
Let
believe,
darkness
then why
guide
not
me.
give it a try?
The dead shall
He
serve.
closed his eyes again and began to think. There is something amazing outside the maze.
Intriguing.
Him took a big breath
For the
and
Lich
felt a
King.
new thought fill up his mind, and
As
as
the
he did,
shadow
he felt
wills.
himself
The
thrust in
restless
it.
dead
He opened
await.
his eyes and wrote another note.
Intriguing. For the
Sometimes you
Lich
have to
King.
believe it before
Let
you can
darkness
see it.
guide me.
He
As the
looked at Hope
shadow
and said,
wills.
"Let's go find out
Let
what's outside the
darkness guide
maze."
me.
She smiled.
For the Lich King.
"Sounds good to me.
As the
Maybe we'll
shadow
learn
wills.
where your cheese come
Let
from."
darkness guide
He
me.
nodded, excited
Die.
at his thought.
As the
"And
shadow
your
wills.
apples too." Hope got to her
They'll
feet.
all be
"I'm
mine.
in," she said. "How are we going to do it?" "I have no idea," said Henry. And he truly didn't. Where would
Let
they look?
darkness guide
He
me.
couldn't imagine. They already looked everywhere. Ken remembered when he and Paul used to go looking for cheese, they
For the
always
Lich
avoided the
King.
dark corners and blind
As the
alleys.
shadow
He
wills.
explained this to Hope,
Intriguing.
then waited
As
to
the
see if
shadow
she
wills.
could come up with another good question. And of course she did. She said, "What if those dark corners are not at all dark? How
Darkness
can they
guide
not
me.
be dark?" said him.
As the
"After
shadow
all,
wills.
that's why they call dark
What does
corners."
the shadow will?
Hope reached up and took
For the
down a
Lich
thick
King.
candle from a
Let
sconce on the
darkness
wall.
guide me. As
Not
the
if we
shadow
bring
wills.
the candle. Hem was already up and staring down the corridor when he noticed Hope hadn't moved. She was looking down at his sack of tools. "Are you
As the
bringing your
shadow
hammer and
wills.
chisel?" Hem looked down at the
For the
tools,
Lich
then
King.
slowly shook his head. "I don't think so."
Intriguing.
"Good," said Hope. She
As
smiled.
the shadow
"I don't
wills.
think it works to launch an inquest for the old wreckage."
Let
They
darkness
went
guide
back into the corridors they had already explored many times, only now they
For the
went
Lich
looking
King.
for dark corners instead of steering clear
As the
of them.
shadow wills.
It felt strange to him, seeking out the very thing he had always avoided. But he decided that feeling strange was probably part of the process. Soon they came to an impossibly dark corner
The
and
restless
stopped.
dead await.
They turned into the darkness and
The dead
Hope
shall
lit their
serve.
candle
What
to
does
light
the
up the little passage.
Let darkness
Ham's
guide
heart sank. The candle's light shone just
as the
far enough to
shadow
reveal that the passageway ended in
darkness
nothing
guide
but darkness and a
as the
flat brick
shadow
wall.
wills.
"Another blind alley," he
Let
said.
darkness guide
Hope
me.
looked
For the
thoughtful.
Lich King.
"That's what I'm
None
thinking too,"
shall
she
survive.
said. "But what if it's
Die
not a thought we should trust?
shall survive.
After all," she added, "not
Intriguing.
all the dark corners are dark.
What is your
Maybe
wish?
not all blind alleys are blind." Ham
Which
liked that
way?
thought. He decided to see if he could hold on onto it and trust it
Fresh meat.
enough
This
that
better
it
be
would
where
turn
shall
into
my
a
blood be
belief.
spilled?
He closed
Let
his eyes and tried
darkness
once more
guide
to
me.
use his imagination. For several long
Intriguing.
moments, nothing
For the
happened
Lich King.
until, just as he
Let
was about to
darkness
give up,
guide me.
he
Our
caught a
brethren's
glimpse of
town is
No
under
time to
something
attack.
rest.
flickering at the edge of his
Is
thoughts.
someone in
Which
As
there?
way?
he were seeing,
Wait
if
till you
not
see
a
me amass.
light, at least the possibility of light.
The
He
dead
felt his
shall
heart
serve.
give a leap.
Intriguing.
Ham opened his eyes again and looked
The
at
rest
Hope.
was dead. Was
Let's
under
try
attack.
it, he said. The two walked slowly into the
Fresh
passageway,
meat. This better be
both
good.
feeling nervous as they walked.
The dead
Ham
shall serve.
couldn't help thinking,
Let darkness
the
guide
maze is a dangerous place.
me.
He had known this all his
As
life,
the shadow
ever
will.
since he was a young boy. The maze is a
Intriguing.
dangerous place. The thought gets whispering in his mind. But if that was not a thought
For the
to
Lich
trust
King.
was true, he stopped walking
As
and
the
Hope
shadow
stopped,
wills.
too, waiting to see what he would say.
What does the shadow will?
Just because you're thinking,
Intriguing.
he murmured
For the Lich
himself,
King.
doesn't mean you have to believe it. You don't have to believe everything you
As the
think.
shadow wills.
Hope didn't say anything. She understood
They'll
what
all be
was
mine.
going through his mind.
Let
They continued
darkness
walking.
guide
Sure enough, as they got closer, Ham saw that there was a tiny light
As
at
the
the very end
shadow
of the alley.
wills.
It was the candle
Let
itself,
darkness guide
reflected in a small window,
As the
set
shadow
into a door.
wills.
They opened the door
Let
and stepped inside a
darkness
small
guide
chamber. Much like the
For the
many
Lich
chambers they
King.
had already explored, in the dim light of Hope's candle, they looked around the bleak little room. Four corners, four walls, nothing else. It was completely empty. Disappointed, Ham
Intriguing.
turned to go, but Hope
For the
stood
Lich
still,
King.
watching him as if
Let
waiting
darkness
for him to
guide
say something.
As the shadow
What? He
wills.
said. It's
Let
empty.
darkness
Look that
guide
way, she said, and she waited some
For the
more.
Lich King.
So Ham thought about it, and then he asked himself a question. If not all dark corners were dark, and not all
They'll all
blind
be
always were
mine.
blind, then could it possibly
As
be
the
that not
shadow
all empty
wills.
chambers were empty?
Guide.
On second thought, he said, shall we take a second look? Hope smiled and took his hand.
Our brethren's town is under
Let's,
attack.
she said.
For the Lich King.
They walked along the first blank wall, turned the corner and walked the second blank wall, turned another corner, walked halfway along the third wall, and stopped. Do you feel
Show me the
that?
path.
Whispered Ham. I feel it, Hope whispered back. Cool air wafted across their legs. Ham bent down and sniffed at it. It smelled incredibly fresh. They got down on their hands and knees, and down at the knee level they found an opening in the wall, just big enough for a little person to pass through. Ham glanced over at Hope and gestured with one arm. After you. Hope crawled into the tunnel. Ham followed. With Hope leading the way, they crawled and
The shadow
crawled
brethren's
until
town
they
is under
both
attack.
began to see a light at the end of the tunnel.
This better be
The light
good.
grew brighter and
Let
brighter,
darkness guide me.
and then,
As the
all at
shadow
once,
wills.
Hope and Ham emerged into a brilliant light, so that, blasting at first, they couldn't see a thing. They
Let
stood
darkness
upright,
guide me.
blinking, and
For the
inhaled
Lich
the
King.
clean,
As the shadow wills.
and inhaled the
Let
clean, fresh
darkness
air.
guide me.
As
As the
their
shadow
eyes
wills.
got used to the light, they
None
looked
shall
around.
survive.
They were standing in a
For the
beautiful
Lich King.
garden, green meadow, with a cool, gentle breeze
Intriguing.
blowing. Ham had
Guide.
never seen or
Let
felt anything
darkness
like it
guide
before.
me.
He
For the
looked up
Lich
at the
King.
ceiling,
Our brethren's
if
town is
that's
under
what you
attack.
could call it.
What does
It
the
was
shadow
so
will?
blue and so high
As the
up,
shadow wills.
and there was
Let
that
darkness
blazing
guide me.
golden light there,
Intriguing.
brighter and warmer
Let
than any
darkness
light he
guide me.
had ever known,
As the
too
shadow
intense to
wills.
look at it directly. Ham was speechless. He took a deep breath, put his hands in his pockets, closed his eyes, and turned his thighs up to feel the warmth. His fingertips felt something in his pocket. He pulled it out and looked at it. It was a piece of paper. At the top of it said, "The
Yes, my friend.
facts
You're
of the
interrupting my
matter."
calculations. What is your
He
wish?
began to rain, and then he began to laugh.
There's no time to rest.
Hope smiled, puzzled. She had never seen him laugh before. She didn't think she'd ever seen him even smile. "What?" she said. "What does it say?" Hem showed Hope the piece of paper. It says, "I have to find more cheese,
How
and
may I
if I
serve?
don't, I'll die." He looked at Hope, "But I found apples instead, and ate those, and I didn't die." She looked at him.
The
"No, you
shadows
didn't.
beckon.
I knew you wouldn't."
Hello.
It also says, "The maze is a dangerous place, full of dark corners and blind alleys." She nodded, and it was dark corner that led to a blind alley that brought us here. "The
Intriguing.
last thing it says," added him, "it's that it's all up to me, that I'm on my own." Hope smiled. "Well, that one certainly isn't true, it is it?" She held
Darkness guide
out a
me.
little piece of cheese she had
This
just
better
found.
be good.
He took it and nibbled it
What
at
does
it
the
gratefully.
shadow will?
"No,"
The rest
he
is
said,
dead
"it's
awaits.
not."
As the
As
shadow
they explored the new world they were in, outside the maze, they found apples and cheese everywhere. They tried eating apples and cheese together. It was delicious, and everything was so
as the
bright.
shadow will.
They had never realized how dim and poorly lit place were inside the maze. It occurred that to him that getting out of the maze felt just like getting out of a
As the
person
shadow
of
will.
his old beliefs.
Or the
Maybe that's all the maze really was. One thing was for sure, the air here smelled so much sweeter. Ken looked down once more at his little piece of paper. "The facts of the matter," he said, and he laughed again. They seemed like
Guide me.
facts
I
at
am
the
ready.
time. Hope nodded, but they weren't. "No," said him, "not a single one." He turned the piece of paper over on the back of the facts of the matter. He wrote down a summary of what he'd discovered over the past few days. The way out of the maze.
My
Notice your
life for
beliefs.
Nazul.
A belief is a thought that you trust is true. Don't believe everything you think. Sometimes facts are just how you see
As the
things.
shadow will.
Let go of what isn't working. You can't launch a new quest with old baggage. Look at
As
outside the
the
maze.
shadow will.
Consider the unlikely. Explore the impossible. Choose a new belief. Change it. What you think doesn't
Or
change
the
who
Lich
you
King.
are.
As the shadow
There are
will.
no limits to what you can believe. You can do,
Or
experience,
the
and
Lich
enjoy
King.
a lot more
Let
than you think
darkness
you
guide
can.
me.
As they sat on the grass enjoying the sunlight and cool
Or the
breeze,
Lich King.
Ken thought again of his friend Hawk. He will be enjoying all this even more, he thought, if Hall were with them.
Darkness guide me.
"You're thinking of Hall,"
Or the
said Hawk.
Lich King.
Ken nodded.
What does
As
the
usual,
shadow will?
she knew what he was
The
thinking.
restless
He
dead
wondered how
await.
she did that.
Let
"We have to
darkness
go
guide
find
me.
him," she said.
Or the Lich
"And
King.
your friend's sneaking scary too." Ken looked at her and nodded again. "That's exactly what I was thinking," he said. "All right," said Hope. She smiled at him.
The
"Let's
dead
go."
shall serve.
They both stood up and Hope took Ham's hand once more,
This better
when suddenly,
as
"Ham!
the
Ham!"
shadow will.
Astonished at hearing his name,
Darkness guide me.
being, being called in this
The dead
unfamiliar
shall
place,
serve.
Ham turned and
As the
stared at the
shadow
figure striding briskly toward him.
let
"It's Hawk!
I wish only to serve.
You're here!" cried Paul as he embraced him and thumped him on the back with both hands. "And so are you," said Ham.
Darkness
He
guide me
glanced around.
as
"I'm,
the
I'm
shadow
sorry." Paul laughed. "Oh, you know them. They were the first ones out.
shall serve.
But you, Ham, I was worried.
Let
You'll never
darkness
find your way
guide
out
me.
of the maze." "I
Tremble
almost
before the
didn't," I admitted him. "I thought I was trapped in there. I thought I was going to die." He sighed. "I was wrong, but I couldn't see it. I was stuck in my own beliefs." "So what happened?" said Paul quietly. Ham reflected for a moment. "First I got angry, then I got hungry, then I found hope." He turned to look at Hope and smiled. "Hope, this is... I'm very happy to meet you, Hope,"
intrigue
said Hope as she shook
for the
Hawk's
lich.
hand.
Fresh
Charmed,
breeze.
Hawk laughed and gave her a
Let
little bow,
darkness guide me.
then said to him, "And after you found Hope, then I changed my mind." Paul gave a warm smile
As the
and
shadow
embraced him
wills.
once again. "I've missed you, my friend. I'm so glad you found your way out of the maze. And
Intriguing.
I'm even happier that you found how to change your beliefs."
As the
"Beliefs are
shadow
powerful things, aren't they?" said Ken. The three stood silently together, contemplating the awesome ability beliefs have to pull you down or to lift you up, and the thrilling discovery that you can change them and still be you. A
the
thought
dead shall
occurred to
serve.
him. "Hang on a second." He reached in his pocket, took out an apple he had picked up, and offered it to Paul. "Have you tried one of these?" Paul nodded gratefully. "Folks," he said, "love them, and they go really well with cheese,"
Darkness guide
said the two friends in unison. Hope looked prepared. "Do you know what, though?" The two turned to look at her. "I'll bet there are all kinds of other delicious things to eat here," she said. "Things we've never thought of before. Things we've never even imagined." Ken and Paul looked at each other. What was possible? Of course it was. And the three of them set off to explore. The end. Or is it another beginning? A discussion. When Dennis finished the story, he stopped talking and looked around the room. Everyone was in a deep thought. He waited. "Wow," said Alex. Dennis turned to him and smiled. "Wow?" "Good for him," said Alex. "He did it. He made it out of the maze. Just like Andy the prisoner in the Shawshank Redemption," said Ben. The rest of the group laughed. By now,
Give me
Ben
something to
had a
do.
well-established reputation as a class
There's no time
entertainer.
to rest.
The
"I had a
shadows
boss
beckon.
once who wasn't so lucky," said Brooke. "Really?" said Dennis. "What happened?" "When I first got out of the journalism school, I worked for a Syrian newspaper. Nobody could convince the publisher we needed to get online. He believed print advertising would keep paying the bills. Even when our biggest accounts switched over to advertising on the web, he insisted that paid circulation will pick up again soon, even as more and more readers left us to get their news online. A year after I arrived, the whole operation shut down. Never found its way out of the maze," murmured Alex. "Beliefs are powerful things," said Dennis. A single stubborn belief can take down an entire company. People believe that how things have always been is how they'll always be, but it never is. You know that Mark Twain said, then
The
commented,
shadows beckon.
"It ain't what you don't know what gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so."
Guide
The class laughed again.
as the
Dennis
shadow
smiled and
wills.
said, "Twain
For
had it
the
right,
Lich King.
as usual."
Let
And here's an
darkness
example.
guide
When the
me.
Titanic
For
made
the
its
Lich
maiden
King.
voyage in
Let darkness
1912,
guide me.
people described the vessel with a single word, unsinkable, said Brooke. "Exactly, unsinkable. That's what everyone believed. Because they believed it, they didn't bother loading on enough libraries. And more than 1,500 people died, said Brooke. All because if I thought people trusted it was true, added Mia. The facts of the matter, murmured Alex. The class was silent for a moment. Oh man, said Ben. I'm starting to get the sense of that all beliefs are bad, said Mia. Narrow viewpoints